What's up, everybody? Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Halo Infinite video. And in this video, we gotta talk about the Halo TV show, baby, because now it's dropped and we can watch it. And I watched the first episode, so I wanna break it down, talk about, was it good, was it bad? My take, is it worth getting Paramount Plus for? There's a lot we gotta talk about, but the GameLeap website's the best place to quickly climb to Onyx and absolutely dominate with in-depth tips, tricks, and VODs so that you can climb to Onyx as quickly as possible. Do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below. Now, the first episode of the Halo TV show is finally on Paramount Plus for us regular people. We get to go and watch it, and I did watch it. I watched it with my wife and actually my daughter, who was surprisingly interested in it, just, I guess, the explosions and shit like that. But honestly, I went into watching this show with the lowest of expectations. I'm a big lore nut, I love Halo, and while I don't think the show needs to be a one-to-one, I just have been hearing a lot of bad things. The reviews came out and they were pretty poor, so my expectations were actually on the floor, and going in with that level of expectations, I actually really liked the show. Now, I've noticed that recently where if my expectations are astronomically low, I can enjoy something that is not great or maybe even good from a critical sense, but from an enjoyment point of view, there was a lot I liked about the freaking show. I liked how they treated Master Chief as someone to be revered, right? And before I continue, there's gonna be a little bit of spoilers about the show, but just for the first episode, and there was nothing crazy major, so yeah. If you wanna just know my just flat out take, go watch the episode. Most people will enjoy it. Just don't have your expectations too high. And you'll probably have some more fun if you just crack a few brewskis and just chill and just, you know, try to relax and have a good time. Anyways, back to the show. I do like the reverence around Master Chief. I like how the refugee group really treated him like he's the boogeyman, and, you know, the Covenant called him Demon, which comes from the books a lot. He was someone with the highest amount of confirmed kills for Covenant, and also he was just known as like the military's top expenditure. He is the #1 weapon of the military, and he was treated as such for the most part. There's some pretty bad writing elements that I'll talk about in a little bit, but overall, I like that aspect of Master Chief, and I thought they did that well. Another thing I really liked is the actual gore and the violence and the maturity of the show. Like, right off the bat, it's like a whole bunch of kids like in the woods just having a good time. They're doing some drugs, you know, the huge, and one of them just gets fucking like their head blown off and vaporized. So yeah, that was definitely cool. I mean, I know it's kind of fucked up to say, but I really do like it taking a much more mature approach. I would actually have liked it even more if they took an even more mature approach, but I wasn't expecting that, you know, at face value anyways, so it kind of threw me for a loop, and I liked it. It was a good surprise to me. Now, there was also some funny nods to the games in here. We saw some first-person perspectives. We saw a moment where Master Chief is literally hiding, and, you know, you get the classic heal, and, you know, it just brings you back into the games. The classic freaking Covenant, war. There's just a lot of callbacks, little tiny callbacks here and there that actually are kind of cool. They're kind of cool, and I appreciated them. That being said, I wanted to move on to some of the stuff that I really didn't like, and I think ultimately, while I already knew coming into this it wasn't going to be that connected to the Halo lore, I think that that's not even the problem with this show. The fact that it's disconnected from the Halo lore, I think could have been a really great thing, even a good thing after watching this. But ultimately, the writing is not that great. The writing is kind of just incoherent at times, and there's plot devices that just are kind of there that push the story along, even if they make no sense. Like, a great example of this is the main female protagonist. She's Quain Haw. She is the daughter of the leader of the resistance group, and she was like with her friends when they all got murdered, and she saw the Covenant land. And this resistance group isn't a resistance of the Covenant, this is a resistance of the UNSC. And while in the books, in the original lore, the UNSC were like painted as a definite moral gray and bad in some cases, I think in this show, it takes it a step further, where they're almost like the primary villains. The UNSC is the primary villains of the story, at least right now, as of the first episode. Now, anyways, back to Quain Haw. Specifically, her dad has a moment where, like, they see each other, and they're both alive, and they're like, oh, yay, and Covenant's after her. And this leader of the Resistance, probably a badass in his own right? He's leading all these people. He fucking full sprint charges and shoots this Covenant, when Master Chief is like a stone throws away, gets fucking murdered by an energy sword. Master Chief comes in and saves the day anyways. And why did you do that? Why did you not say, hey, come over here, man, come help us out? You didn't do any of that. You just ran in and got fucking murdered. I think that that's just lazy writing. And that's kind of what has happened through this episode, is just lazy writing. And like I said, that's why if you don't take the show that seriously, if you come in with low expectations, maybe a little tipsy, you'll probably really love the show for all the other positive stuff. But when you like really try to critically analyze it, yeah, there's a lot of little lazy writing bits, but it doesn't really matter all that much if you don't take it that seriously. Another thing that happens is she's on the ship and she's negotiating with the daughter of Dr. Halsey, and they're trying to basically convince her to say, hey, the UNSC are actually fighting the Covenant. We need to unite. We need to be, you know, on the UNSC's team and fight the Covenant. And she is like really mad because that's what her father stood for, and she's not gonna go against what her father stood for. She probably could have negotiated better terms, but she's basically like, yo, you give us independence, then we'll do it. And they're like, nah, let's kill her instead. But a part in that is she's like, hey, I know that y'all people can make whatever type of footage that you want artificially. And if that's the case, which it probably is, which it definitely is based on like the time period, why do they need her to like go on air and say something if, you know, you could just artificially make it? Anyways, that's just, you know, another tidbit, another fucking just a minute kind of criticism. But like I said, the writing's not the greatest. But let's get back into the plot, talking about Master Chief. And this is probably the most controversial, the whole Master Chief arc. He goes in, he basically touches a relic, an artifact that kind of wakes up his memory about his childhood. And this is another big departure from the books. It's almost like the Spartans are, you know, not just brainwashed through the system, because I think that's how it is in the books more, is where this is all they really know. Like they know that they have, you know, they used to have lives or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Their entire life is the military. Like they are on the military side, and it's not like suddenly they're unbrainwashed and they're not on the military side. It's like they are fully ingrained because they've been with the military from childhood. In this, it's almost painted as if it's like they had a full life, a full family, and if they remembered, they would instantly drop the military and they would go want to find their family, you know, go want to chase their past, which is not really the case in the books, right? In the books, it's like they wouldn't even remember their family all that much, nor would they care. It's such a small part of their life, and their full life is the UNSC. But I think this is a big part of like painting the UNSC to be the big bad guy, or a big bad guy in the story. So it's kind of villainizing them a lot more. And we see that furthered when they're just like, oh yeah, she's not gonna agree with us. Quan is not gonna agree with us. Let's just fucking kill her. And then Master Chief's like, nah, let's actually leave, because he's seeing, you know, visions from the past. Now, I also would have liked if that was a harder transition between, you know, the loyal soldier of the UNSC to someone that just went full, fuck the UNSC, I'm gonna go do my own thing. That was a very, you know, very quick turn. I understand they want to get the story along. I understand they don't want to spend a whole bunch of time with that, but maybe a few scenes showing Master Chief doing things like a machine, being ordered to do something pretty fucked up and just doing it, and maybe even a time when he had a little bit of hesitation and then someone like repeated the order and then he just fucking did it. Something like that, where it's like, hey, he's a machine, but this artifact woke him up, and now he's coming to the realization that maybe things are kind of messed up. But that still doesn't explain, you know, the rest of the military just being like, oh, chill. I know that there was one scene with Dr. Halsey's daughter where she's like, yeah, maybe this is pretty fucked up. Maybe you shouldn't do this. And they're just like, nah, you have to do it anyway. And anyways, I know I'm getting into a little nitpicky stuff, but let's talk about the last part of this, which is Master Chief showing his face, Pablo Schreiber being actual Master Chief, and this is gonna be a controversial one. Some people really, really dislike the fact that Master Chief's face was shown, Master Chief is an actual character, and I'm actually okay with it. Like I said, I don't really treat this like it's Halo, or rather, it's an alternate universe, right? So I just treat it as such, and in a lot of the movies and, you know, some of my favorite movies about the fall of Reach, like we got to meet young Master Chief, we got to see his face, we got to hear him talk, and it doesn't really make sense when you're not playing as Master Chief. It's fine to see him. In my personal opinion, it also makes sense that he would, you know, take off his mask to like extend an olive branch to Quan to show her that, hey, if you want to shoot me in the fucking face, you can. I'm pretty sure he would still survive, but you know, it would hurt. It would fucking hurt. Anyways. Oh, last thing, I just remembered something that was kind of funny is, you know, in that first battle with the Covenant, like all the regular humans were like shooting the machine gun and shooting all these weapons at the Covenant, and the Covenant were like, nah, we don't give a fuck. And then the Spartans pick up the same weaponry, like the same turret, and use weapons, the same bullets, and then all of a sudden they can kill them. And it's like, okay, well, it's just another lazy writing is the problem here. That's the it's not any of the other aspects I thought were going to be a big deal. The fact that it was disconnected from the lore, the fact that Master Chief was going to show his face, going to be a real character, the fact that they were going to change the story. None of that is the problem. The problem is the illogical writing, the, you know, the deaths that don't make any sense, or the things that push along the story for no reason. But outside of all that, the show's fucking fun to watch. It's fun to just see people in awe of Master Chief. It's fun to see a badass Spartan just, you know, go in and fuck shit up. It's fun to see references to the games, you know, the life gain. And yeah, I could see the story developing in, you know, just a way that's fun. And I'm probably gonna be, you know, tipsy or maybe even a little drunk for most of the show, which is, I think, the best way to enjoy it. But honestly, if you don't have your expectations too high, I think you'll have a really great time. And I would honestly rate this show kind of high. And as a side note, my wife, who played the Halo games kind of casually, she played Halo 3 and Halo Reach. She loved the fucking show. And my daughter typically doesn't watch shows with us, and she watched it too. Maybe it's because there was a lot of explosions, or, you know, Master Chief or gunfire. I don't know why. But anyways, it was cool. I liked it. So I really want to hear your opinion. Did you watch the show? Did you like the show? How do you feel about it? And what are your big criticisms / praises for the show? I want to hear about it. And if you want to support the channel, go to the GameLeap website down below for in-depth tips, tricks, VODs, and so much more. Do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below.